Okay, we're up to the Mishnah on Nun Amid Beis. We're up to the Mishnah on Nun Amid Beis. Okay, says the Mishnah, Hamakadesh Isha Ubita, if a person's Makadesh, a woman and her daughter, a Isha V'Chaisa, or a woman and her sister, Ke'achas, he says to them, Rashi, Harishtechem Mekudeshes Li, you are both Mekudeshes to me. Neither one is Mekudeshes. Neither one, there's no need for a get, there's no Kidushin, and they're both free agents. Everyone's free. Umaisa, there was an incident, Nashim with 5 women, and among those 5 women were 2 sisters. And a person, he went ahead and he harvested, he gathered a basket of figs, Ushalahem Haisa, it belonged to them. Vishal Shvias Haisa, and it was the Shemitah year. And he said, you're all Mekudeshes to me. Bil Kilkala Zu with this basket. The Kibla Achas Mehem Ayidekula, and one person accepted for all of them. So the Gemara will describe how can you Mekadesh something that doesn't belong to you. After all, it belongs to other people. And what's the point of Shemitah? The bottom line is, as of these 5 people, 3 of them are going to require gittin before they can marry somebody else, and 2 of them are not. The 2 sisters are not in the ballpark at all. So this ma'aseh is similar to the first case where you mekadesh yishu bita, and the second case we mekadesh yisha v'achaisa. The second, and that is similar to the second case. And therefore the ma'aseh is brought in. Okay, now you went ahead and you mekadesh all of them together. Ein mekudashai. So Fred the Gemara, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know that there's no kedusha whatsoever? Okay. So Amar Rami Bar Chama, Damakra, the pasuk says, Isha elachaisa leisikach litzrar. A woman to a sister, you should not take litzrar to be tsaris. So this, of course, we're familiar from Yevamis. This is the source for the Mishnah on Daf Beis that says that Saris Erva is Pata, right? Saris Erva is Pata from Yivam. This is the pasuk, right? HaTorah Amar b'shash shenasu tzares zu lezu. When you become tzares one to the other, lo yehei lo yikuchin. So we're going to touch the pasuk like this, guys. We're going to touch the pasuk. The isha elachaisa leisikach, a woman to a sister, the kedushin is not tzayfis. Litzrar when to become tzares. So in other words, if you mekadesh 2 sisters, leisikach, there's no kedushin whatsoever. It's a pasuk that there's no kedushin. By the way, there's a very interesting Ramban ala Torah on this pasuk, and it says, what's the reason that we say the lashon of tsaris by sisters? It's very geshmak. We know that women are kosher for edus isha, to say that someone died, and there's 5 women are not believed: the mother-in-law, stepsister, and a tzara. A tzara is not believed because they'll get the woman in trouble. They're called tzara for a reason. Because why? Because they become rivals, literally, according to they're rivals. So guys, listen to this Geshmak of Shaf and Ramban. Women, generally sisters, they love each other. There's nothing like a sister, correct? So the Torah says, you can't be mekadesh 2 sisters. You know why? Because then they won't love each other anymore. Then they'll become tsaris. Then they'll become rivals. And the MS, it's so geshmak because what happens if one of the sisters dies? You're able to marry the other sister. It's not an innate erva. That's why if one dies, you can marry the other one. Most araya is if once you're asa, right? You can't marry your mother-in-law. If one's wife dies, you still can't marry your mother-in-law, right? But one's wife dies, you could marry the sister because no longer are they tsaris. It's a very nice Ramban on that pasuk. Very nice Ramban on that pasuk. So the bottom line is, this pasuk teach me if they become tsaris simultaneously, bivas achas, they become tsaris bivas achas. At that time that they're becoming tsaris, right? Loisikach. It says lashon kedushin. Dr. Pes, we just did the Mishnah on Nun Amid Beis, and we're explaining why if a man goes ahead and marries 2 sisters, that the kedushin is not chal. If he's mekadesh them at the same time, the kedushin doesn't work because the pasuk says loisikach. Okay, now says the Gemara, Amalei Rava. Says Rava to Rami Bar Chama. Says Rava Bar Chama. Ihachi. If you're telling me that there's no Kidushin by marrying two sisters, Hainu diksiv v'nichvasu hanafashos oisis mikerev amam, ikidushin leitavsiba koris mimachayva. If you look at Parshas Achrei Mos, fellas, where that pasuk is stated, at the end of the pasuk there's a synopsis, and anyone who goes ahead and marries one who's the erva is chayv koris. Now, if you're telling me there's no Kidushin toifis, so where's there a chiyuv koris? Koris is in when there's an issue of erva. If you're telling me you mekadesh two sisters simultaneously, leisikach, there's no lekuchin, so why at the end of the parsha do we have this pasuk going back on that pasuk stating that there's koris? There shouldn't be koris. There's no Kidushin if Rami Bar Chama is correct. If Rami Bar Chama is correct, there should be no koris. It says the Gemara, Elo Amar Rava, Lashon Charata, Kroz B'zachazeh. You know what the pasuk is speaking about? The pasuk is not speaking about you mekadesh two sisters simultaneously. The pasuk is speaking about when you mekadesh one sister, then you can't marry the other sister. And if you do, if you're with the other sister, there's no lekuchin, and now there's only lekuchin, there's a chiyuv karetz. It's achos ishtoi. One of the basis of Yavamis, achos ishtoi, is a din in karetz. That's it. Zahu. There's a din in karetz. So we thought the pasuk, like Rabbi Bar Chama, is speaking about a man who is mekadesh two sisters simultaneously, and it says leisikach. Therefore, there's no kedushin. Freg Rav on Rami Bar Chama, and that's the case. Why is there chorus if there's no kedushin? They're both free agents. And for the Gemara, you're right. The pasuk is not speaking when you mekadesh b'vasachas. It was speaking when you mekadesh one after the other. So the first one is your wife. The second one is achas ishtoi. There's a din of chorus, and you cannot learn out the din of our Mishnah from there. And our Mishnah said a man is mekadesh as one, as one. If you mekadesh one, right, at the same time there's no kedushin, you cannot learn from the pasuk because the pasuk is speaking about one after the other. So Rabbi says, what's the reason? Ela Rabba umasnisan kidder Rabba, and says Rabba, our Mishnah is like Rabba, the Amar Rabba, kol she'ena b'zeh achazeh, one that cannot work one after the other, afilu ba'achas einoi. Can you marry one sister after another? You marry one sister, can you marry the other one? No. Since you can't marry them one after the other, it's a svara, you can't marry them simultaneously. Again, this is the first part of the share. Kol shebe'eno ze'achazeh, anything that doesn't work one after the other, afilu b'vasachas doesn't work. Let's see, beautiful Rashi here, guys. Umasnisan ki hoyun, the last Rashi on the page.
Laser, but ze'achazeh, at least one of them works. The first one works.
Kol shebe'enu ze'achazeh, that you can't marry both of them, afilu b'vasachas doesn't work. Anything that doesn't work one after the other. Of course, one works, Mayor. One works, the other one doesn't. Then, if you do it together, it doesn't work. Kol shein b'zeh afilu ba'achas doesn't work. Good. Says the Gemara. Masnisan, Mayor, you can't pick and choose, Mayor. You're going to be Kaddish two sisters. Which one's going to work, Mayor?
I understand the svara that it doesn't work, but it's not a comparison.
It's not. It's a statement. It's a svara. If I can't do one thing one after the other, meaning when I want one to work, it can't work at the same time.
I get that, but it's
that's
not
all we need. Okay, as long as you get it, we're happy. Say umasnisan ki hoyu nami bebas achas mehai kroi nafka, right? Uchidaraba usvara ba'almahu. Our Mishnah, when it's speaking bebas achas, right? It's not from this pasuk, it's from Rabbi, who says it's a svara. Kol sheina b'zachazeh. Anything that the second one, Meya, the second one, doesn't work, afil b'vasachas, if you do it at the same time, einoi, does not work, period. There is no Kidushin. So if the second one, there's no Kidushin, after the first one there's Kidushin, then there's no Kidushin on both of them at the same time. Listen to my words, Meya, I just typed it for you. Hilkach, therefore, Kivin de ba'achas isha leitavsi kedushin. Since by achas isha, the second one, the kedushin is not toifis. Kachinu b'vasachas nami lehavi kedushin. If you makadosh at the same time, it's not a kedushin. That's Meir. Rashi spells it out, right? I feel so. Kol shev, again, it's a svara. Anything that you can't, the kedushin won't be toifis one after the other. Afilu b'vasachas, it doesn't work. Good guys, that's the svara of the Mishnah. The Gemara now is going to attack that and challenge it from many places, and we're going to hold serve. Rabbi will hold serve that kol shebeinu b'zeh hazeh afilu ba'achas. Gufa. Now we're going to go ahead and analyze it onto itself. Amar Rabba kol shebeinu b'zeh hazeh. Anything that on the second one it doesn't work. Afilu b'sachas einay. Esevei abaya. Okay, fellas, outside. When you go ahead and separate Maisa means the 10th. Maisa Risha means the 10th. It doesn't mean the 9th, and it doesn't mean the 11th. It doesn't mean the 12th. It means the 10th. If you separate Maisa, it itself, so what you took Maisa off on works. So Rashi gives an example. You have 50 parts. So you take away 50 parts, you should only separate 5. You separated 10, right? And now, so 40, the 40 that you separated upon is considered tithed, and you could eat it. But the 10th, that extra 10, which you should have only separated 5, is mixed together, tevel and meiser, and it doesn't work. So that's the case. Hamarbe b'maisa, someone who increases his maisa, he takes more than 10. He took off a fifth. Peiroisav mitukin, the peiros that he separated the tithe for is tithe, and you could eat it. It's not tevel. Umaiso is mukukolin, but the meiser itself is mukukolin. Ve'amai. Why do we name a kol she'ena b'zeh achazeh? Afil vachas einoi. Why is that 40 good? Since I can't take off meiser after meiser, I can't take off one meiser and then another meiser. Kol shebeinu b'zeh hazeh, afil b'vas achas, even if you do it at once, it shouldn't work. Again, it's lam the shekasha. Yeah, guys, in our case, you have 50. 40 is good, and the 10 is not good. Why is this 40 good? Since I can't take off meiser after meiser, kol shebeinu b'zeh hazeh, afil b'vas achas shouldn't work. Kasha on Rabba from this Tosefta in Demai, in Perikes. And for the Gemara, Amalei, so Rabba answered Abaya. The following. He said, Shiny Maisa, the Isa lechatzoyin. Because Maisa, you have the capacity to go ahead and be Magdish part of it. The Yom Tiskachi Palga the Chitasa Kitsha. If you said part of it is Kodesh, it would be Kodesh. So by an Isha, you can't be Mekadesh part of an Isha. If you're Mekadesh the whole Isha. But by Chita, the possibility is when you took off Meiser, so you started taking off a 10th, you wanted to do a 10th, and then you ate it on more. As you were doing the 10th, it was Chal on that part. So therefore, it's not Pshat b'zeh achazeh. It's not Kol sheb'zeh achazeh, because right now, it is being chal. It's a shver svara, but that's the svara according to why it's different than Isha. By an Isha, there's no svara to say there's chalois a little bit. By Maisa, I could say it's chal, even after I ate on, so good. But once it was chal, before I ate it on, there was a chalois. So therefore, you won't apply the rule, kol sheb'zeh I feel v'asachas einoi. Here it's not v'asachas. Here it's not v'asachas, because it's chal piecemeal as it goes on. Maisa behema. You take your animals that are born during that year, you put them in a corral. Every 10th animal, you would go ahead. It's so sad. Okay. Okay, so now Maisa Behema, the 10th one you hit with what? With a red paint, and it's a din of a carbon. You bring it to Yerushalayim, you eat it, it's yours. If it gets a mum, you could eat it. Okay, but the bottom line is you have to. If it gets a mum, you can't eat it. You can't be pointed either. Okay, anyway, chalapachas. What happens if they come out of the corral, and when it gets to number 10, 2 animals come out at the same time? So they're both kodesh. Now, why are they both kodesh? Kol shebezach, you can't say Maisa 1, number 10, and then number 11, 10. You can't do that. It won't be Maisa. Only the first one will be Maisa, not the second one will be Maisa, correct? So why don't we say kol shebezach einoi afilu vasachas einoi? So why are they both kodesh? It should be kodesh at all. That's the Gemara's kasha. Further Gemara kasha, according to Rabbi Bari Ma'isa Behema, the lekel lechatzoyin, half the animal can't be kodesh. It doesn't work piecemeal like mice of crops. The lekel bezachas, and you can't go ahead and call mice one after the other, right? Because if you would go ahead and call number 10 10 and number 11 10, it's not kodesh. It's not 11th one will be kodesh kal. It's not kodesh. So therefore, it's not bezachas. So why don't we say Vama Rava and Rav says Rava or Rabba Yatsu Shnayim Basiri? If two come out at the same time, the Karan Asiri, and you call it 10 Asiri v'achad Asam u'Ravim zebezeh. You have 10 and 11 mixed together. But 1 second, since you can't do one after the other 10 10, why? If you're telling me it's kol b'shebezeh achazeh einoi, I feel vasachas einoi, it shouldn't be kodesh at all. Yet it is. Kasha on Rabba. Okay? Now, here's the din, why this is uniquely different, guys. There's a unique din by Ma'isa Behema. We've had this more than once. The guy's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But when he gets to 9, he mistakenly says 10. So he called the 9th animal 10, and then he corrects himself, and he calls the 10th animal 9. And then he calls the 11th animal 10. The halacha is they're all 3 kodesh. They're all 3 kodesh. The first one's kodesh because he called it 10. The second one is kodesh because it is the 10th. And the third one's kodesh is because he called it 10. So since we have this unique halacha that if you mess it up by calling number 9, 10, and number 10, 9, and number 11, 10, so too, if you call simultaneously 10 when they come out at the same time, it's kodesh. And therefore, it's not subject to what the halacha of kol shebezachazeh einoi afilu vasachas says the word it's not. So Amar Rava Yatsu Shnei Basir v'Kol Asir Shiny Ma'isa Behema. 2 lines where it gets why the isi b'tois because it exists b'tois as I just told you that nan it's a mishnah in Madim in Bechiris Kara l'Tshii Asiri. If I call number 9 10 Ul Asiri Tshi and they said and 10 is 9 Ul Acharas Asiri Shlashim Kudashais. They're all kodesh. So therefore, since I have this unique halacha, therefore we won't apply the rule. Therefore, if a Asiri comes out together, it's muravim together. Because why? Since B'taisa works, it works over here. In other words, so I have a waiver, special insight by Ma'isa Behema and by Ma'isa Zroyim. By Ma'isa Zroyim is why? Because it's Hievzis, and Ma'isa Behema because it has B'tois. Okay, now, next halacha. You know that a person brings a korban toida to thank a Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's a shlomim. However, it's unique that it's only eaten instead of 2 days and a night. It's only eaten 1 day and a night. Like this, you're going to bring more people there to eat the korban earlier, and you'll publicize the reason you're bringing it by thanking Hashem. It's accompanied by 40 loaves. 3 of them are not chametz, and 1 of them is chametz. So what happens is when you magdish, the big Rashis over here are explaining the kiyas of the background over here. When you go ahead and you shech the animal, it infuses the lachmei toida, but with kedushas haguf. It becomes kedushas haguf, right? It infuses lachmei toida with kedushas haguf. You need 40. Let's say you do 80. Okay. So according to one, it's what it's mixed together. They're both kodesh. Now, why would it be kodesh? If I would say 40 and 40, it doesn't work. So does kol shebezachazeh afilu? So it should be kodesh at all. That's the sugya. Says the Gemara. Hari toida the lesser betois. If I say I want to be black and I want to be white, and the lesser nami bezachazeh, and also if you say I want to bring 40, and then you say I want to bring 40, the second 40, it doesn't work, right? They're not toy. If you say 40, it doesn't work. The itmar, toida shenishchat al shmoinim chalois, a toida that was geschochten on 80, not 40 and then 40. It wasn't b'zachas there. You put 80 at the same time, right? It's amazing. You bought it at the same time, Penina. You bought it at the same time. Chizkiya Amar, Kadshe La Abayim B'Tach Shmainim. 40 of the 80 are what? Are a Kodesh. The Kash is going to be from Chizkiya, fellas. Why are the 40 Kodesh? Since you couldn't bring 40 and then 40, in other words, it's not B'Zachazeh Einoi, Memela Fil B'Vasachas. So even from the Shmainim, 40 should be nothing. It should be nothing. Again, since you can't do 40 and 40, I can't do 40 out of 80. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, like it's not Kodesh. So like Rabbi Yochanan, it's very geschmack. So why are we bothering, since Rabbi Yochanan is usually the greatest of the Amoraim, why are we bothering to ask a kasha from Chizkiya? So if you look at Rashi, this smack in the middle of this huge Rashi, the middle line, it says, Umakshi lo mid Chizkiya shaya Rabbi shal Rabbi Yochanan. He was his Rebbe, K'damin be'erevin. You see on the line it says Erevin Chaftala, that line, you see that line? You maybe have Erevin Chaftala on that line. Go back a little bit, and that's why Umakshi mid Chizkiya shaya Rabbi shal Rabbi Yochanan. And that's why we're asking from him. That's what we're asking from him, because he was Rabbi Yochanan's Rebbe. Okay, bottom line is, what's the kasha, guys? If you would say, I'm Magdish 40, and then I'm Magdish 40, it doesn't work. So why, if I'm Magdish 40, 80, 40 work? Kol shebezeh achazeh, I feel vasachas, says the Gemara, Lavitmar lo amra b'shur ben Levi, hakol moedim, everyone's moeda, kol heichad ama kotche le'aboyim etoch shmainim. You bring 80, and you say only 40 should be kodesh. Katshe, even Rabbi Yochanan says it's kodesh. The 40 shouldn't be kodesh unless the 80 are kodesh. Like katshe, they're not kodesh. You know why? Because kol shebzech ze'eno, I feel b'vasachas. In other words, Chizkiya agrees. If you would bring 80 and say I want 40 to be kodesh, it wouldn't work because of Rabbi's rule. Where's the machlokes between Chizkiya and Rabbi Yochanan? Like nechel b'stam. You didn't say anything, and you brought 80, but you didn't say anything. That's the machlokes. So again, regarding the halacha of kol shebezech ze'enoi, I feel vasachas einoi, everyone's maida. If I brought 80 and said I only want 40, since you can't go ahead and bring 40 and 40, those 40 don't work of the 80. So Chizkiya is an agreement, and there's no kasha on Rabbah. So what's the machlokes then? You bought a carbon stam, you bought a regular carbon, you bought 80. Is there, out of those 80, the 40 work or not? Says Chizkiya, yes. Says Rabbi Yochanan, no. What's the machlokes? Mar Sav, Rabbi Chizkiya is of the opinion, Lachrayus Kamachavin. When he bought 80, he didn't want all to be, he only wanted 40 to be. And the other 40 is insurance. It's insurance, just in case something doesn't work out. So I have 40 more. But I only wanted 40 to be kodesh in the first place. And therefore it works. Umasav, Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion, the carbon gadol kamachavin. He's machavin for a carbon gadol, meaning for a total 80. Hey, 1 second. Torah says only 40. Doesn't work. So the question is, how do we view this? 40 or 80? That's the machlokes. But regarding the halacha, kol she'ena b'zachazeh, afilu v'sachas einoi, everyone, Rabbi held serve, and it's not a kasha on him at all. Fred the Gemara. Why did he have to say kol now, guys, we're going to have a machlokes in a minute whether you need Kidushin, Mesur Labi or not. If a man marries a woman, do you need to be able to go ahead and have relations with her in order for the Kidushin to be Taifus? Says Rava, no. Says Rava, you have to, if Kidushin does not work, I have to be able to live with her physically. And if I can't, the Kidushin doesn't work. If a man is Mekadesh and Isha, right? And he's Mekadesh one of two sisters, right? Why do you have to come over and say, since you can't do it one after the other, you can't do it Basachas, you can never do it. Why? Because since you don't know whichever one you're with, you can't be with them. Because one is either your wife or one is your wife's sister. It's achas ishtai. It's a Kidushin sheina nimsrun lebiyah. So why did Rabbi have to come on to this whole? Why did Rava have to answer like Rabbi? The reason why it doesn't work with vasachas is because it doesn't work with zachazeh. The reason it doesn't work with vasachas is because it's a Kidushin that you can't be boiled. You can't be boiled. That's Mor's kasha. Fred the Gemara kasha. Rava lamalei l'shnuya kirabba. Tepile Kidushin shein mesurin lebiyah ninu. So Gemara answers, he's asking the words of Roy Marchama. You, Roy Marchama, who brought this pasuk, I'm telling you this pasuk is not correct. The way you learn pshat in this pasuk is not correct. Remember, Roy Marchama learned pshat is that you makadosh b'vas achas lo sikach. There's no kedushin whatsoever. We asked on that, so why is there chorus at the end of the parsha? So we said the pasuk speaking b'zachazeh. So if you want to apply the pasuk, speaking b'zachazeh, and now it's speaking b'zachazeh, I feel b'achas achas doesn't work. But me, forget about the pasuk. It's kedushin that's not given over to bia, and therefore memelovat. He can't. It's not a good kedushin. Why? Because he can't be boiled. Now the Gemara is going to, for the rest of the daf, deal with this. Do you need kedushin mesurun lebia or not? Now this is a machloikas Abaye v'Rava. What's very famous about this, guys, this is the kuf in the Yal Kigam. In the Gemara in Eil Mitzias, you're learning, kid, that the halach is like Rava except 6 places. Yal Kigam, Yud, Ayin Lamid, and Kigam. And the kuf of the Kigam, the Kidushin Shein Mesurun Lebia. Okay? That's what I know Benji's waiting for me to ask the other 5. I'm not going to do it. Anyway, so now I know what he's thinking. I've been with him too long. Anyway, so we're going to pass like a baya. But anyway, so you got the heads up, but it's a difficult sugya, but let's go through it because we do what we do. Itmar. Kidushin shein mesurun lebia. A kedushin that it's not possible to consummate the marriage. I guess that would be the nice way to put it for the blog. A kedushin that you couldn't consummate the marriage. Abaya says, have a kedushin. It would be a good kedushin. V'Rava Amar lo have a kedushin. So therefore, that's what the Gemara said. According to you, Rava, why do you have to come on to Kol Shavina B'Zachas Efil B'Zachas? If you make Kaddish 2 sisters, then guess what? It's a kedushin shenim saron lebia. So Amar Rava says Rava Barahina Asbroli. Barahina, he explained it to me. It says, what does the pasuk say? Barahina is the name of a chacham. What does the pasuk say? It says, Yikach isha, if a man takes a woman, ubala. So, kiyikach, if he takes a woman kedushin, ubala. So it has to be the yikach leads to a bala, leads to a bia. But if there's no bia, then what? Then there's no kedushin. That's Rava. Says Rava, Barahina asbli kiyikach isha ubala. Kedushin amasrun lebia have a kedushin. That's considered kiyikach. Kedushin shem amasrun lebia lo have a kedushin. Good. Now, Tanan. Hamikadesh isha ubita. It means mekadesh isha ubita. Or isha v'achoisa. Or a woman and a sister. Ka'achas as one. Eina mikudeshes. They're not mikudeshes. Mashmahai achas meisha ubita. Let's say he gave a pruta to both and said, one of you is mikudeshes to me. Or misha achaisa. Or 2 sisters and he gave a pruta and says, one of you is mikudeshes to me. Then mikudeshes. Then there would be kedushin. In other words, you'd have to get a get before she can marry somebody else. Guys, one more time. Where the lashon of the Mishnah, if you do it simultaneously, it's not a good kedushin. If you do it not simultaneously, one of you, I'm giving you the money, but I'm not being kaddish both of you. Only one of you, then it's good kedushin, correct? But 1 second, you'll never be able to consummate this marriage because you could be boiled your mother-in-law, or you could be boiled achas ishtay, right? So again, Fred the Gemara a bomb kasha on Rabbah from our Mishnah. V'amai kedushin shein mesurun lebiyaninu tiyufta the Rava. It's the tiyufta on Rava. Okay, now Rava. What Rava is going to do, fellas, is he's going to prove his point from the latter part of the Mishnah. So Abaya, the Reisha is shver on Rava, and the Sefer is a raya to Rava. According to Abaya, the Sefer, the Reisha works. According to Abaya, the Sefer doesn't work. And the Gemara then is going to have to figure out how each one of the Amoroyim learned Pshat in the Mishnah according to their various Shita. Again, says Abaya, I have a raya from the Mishnah that Kedushin, Shemasurun Labia is good Kedushin by the fact I have a diak. Dafka, because Ba'achas it's not good Kedushin. Mashma gave a pruta to both of them and said one use Mukudeshes. It would be a good Kedushin. It's not Masurun Labia. It's a raya to Abaya that you don't need Kedushin, Masurun Labia. And a Kasha on Rava. Amalach Rava Ulataimech, Ema Seifa, Maisa Bechamesh Nashim, there was a Maisa with 5 women, Ubehem Shtei Achayas, and among those 5 women were 2 sisters, Velikid Achad Kekala Shel Te'enim, and the person went ahead, and he was Malakid, he gathered A basket of figs had belonged to them. V'shal shvias hoisen was shmita year. V'amar kulchem mekudeshes li belkakol zu. V'amar chachamim ein achayis mekudeshes. Achayis hu dein mekudeshes. Hanachrias mekudeshes. Mashma the three other women are. Now hechidami. Ilemidama kulchem kni. If he said all of them, what? Or if kulchem, he says all of them, then it's kni at v'chamarhu. If you go ahead and make a kinyan, right, Tully and somebody else. Rashi says, look at the second line from the bottom at the end. Kni at v'chamarhu, you be kaina and a chamar. Noisim matanis l'noilad, you give a matana to a person that's born, ula uba sheba me imai, right? Or and to an embryo, a fetus. She'enai koinim klum, gama noilad ain't a koina. Sharei hikna lezeh b'lezeh. You're making a matana contingent one upon the other. If you give a matana to two viable human beings, each one could be kaina, and therefore the other one's kaina. If you're giving it to what? To a person that is kaina, a noilad, a regular person, and to a chamar, in this case, no difference between an embryo and a chamar. Neither one can go ahead and be kaina. So why and with the halacha is, then the noilad, the healthy person, is not kaina. So over here, right? For hachanami ikah chadad lechazil leklal, right? Over here, you don't have. There's one that's you said kulchem. There's one that's not kulchem, right? There's one of the sisters. It can't be all. There's if you said kulchem kni, then guys, three are working, two are not. The two are not working is because one of them is a suffix, correct? And mukudeshes. Now, if you say kulchem, then these three also shouldn't work. It should be at the chamar, right? Because this doesn't work. So that can't be the case of the Mishnah, right? Ella lav the amar lahu. It must be the amar lahu. He must be the amar lahu achas mikem. He didn't say kulchem. He says achas michem. One of the three others, right? One, in other words, he said one of the three others. And since one of the three others, the ketani ein achayis mikudashais. Now, this is a kedushin that is not nimsru labia over here. This is a kedushin you can't possibly lead to kedushin over here, right? When you said that one of them is not kaina, correct? That's what you want. You say one of the sisters. So, it's I'm being mekadosh all of you except one. So let's say the one is not the sister, right? So therefore, these three would work. But the question is, this sister, the Kidushin shouldn't work, right? Because it's why? Because it's Einonim Sarvan Labia. So therefore, Elolav the Amalahu, Achas Mehem, he said to one of them, look at Rashi, the Lav Atma Chamarhu, then Kidezu like Kidezu. If he said, I'm a Kadishu or not a Kadishu. So if guys, let's go, I'm not being clear. If it's 3 and 2 and this doesn't work, then the 3 doesn't work. So really it's 3 and 1. It's 3 and 1, but this one you can't be boiled because of this one. This one you can't be boiled because of this one. Yet these three are it's still viable. Why? Because we're going to view this as nothing, because it's not Nimsru Labia. So that fact that you can't marry this sister will not be ma'akiv these three, the other three. Only one of the sisters. The Ketani ein achayis mikudashais. Why not? Because it's Kedushin, Shemus from Labia. He was Makadasha. But since he can't be Bailha, because you don't know which one, so Memela what? So L'chaya, you have a kasha on me from the Reisha, says Rava. I have a kasha, you want to buy it from the Seifa. Again, let's go with Chazar Rebbe one at a time. The reason why in the Reisha there's no Kedushin is because he was Makadish both of them. If he was Makadish one of them, it would be good Kedushin. You can't be Boil, Raya to Rava, Raya to Abaya, Kasha and Rava. The Seifa is speaking where he said, didn't say all 5 of you, he said Mekadesh 3 of you and one of the sisters. Now, why is it good Kidushin? Should be good Kidushin, right? Why? Because because this one, the reason why it's good Kidushin is because this one is out completely. Because since it's not Mesur Labiyah, we're left with these three. Because if Kidushin wasn't Mesur Labiyah, then this other sister would also be Asa. But over here, it's only one. Says the Gemara, okay. For the Gemara, the following. L'Rabba kasha reisha, Abaye kasha seifa. Abaye mitaris tamei, Rabba mitaris tamei. Abaye mitaris tamei. Now, each one's going to add a little words. Hamakadesh isha ubita, or isha v'achoisa, ke'achas, enim kudashais. Okay, so far no change. Ha'achas me'isha ubita, here's what we're adding, but one of them, me'isha v'achoisa, then mekudeshes. Why? Because you don't need a bia. You'll need a get. You won't be able to live with her, but mekudeshes to need a get, because you don't need a bia to make a kedushin. The im amar, here's where he's going ahead what? And cutting and pasting. Again, that's the ratio. Now he's got to fit the sefer. Vim amar haru'uya lebia tiskadishli, and then if he would add and someone who's right to be as mekadesh to me, then ain't mekudeshes. Then it won't be mekudeshes. It won't be mekudeshes, right? Why? Because he said you need royal lebia. Umay sanami bechamesh nashim ubehen shtei achayos v'liked achas kol shel teinim v'amar. Here's what he added: haruyim li mikem tiskadishli. The one that's royal to me should be mekudeshes to me, meaning the three. V'amru chachamim ein achayos mekudeshes, because they're not royal. Because they're not royal. In other words, really, guys, really, you do not need a bia to facilitate kedushin. But he added that adjoinder. He added, it's got to be roy to me. And that's why the seif is not shvar and abaya. Because the seif is speaking where he added, and if you're roy to me, then it's good kedushin. And so therefore, because this is a rasa, because they're not roy. And that's how abaya holds serve. Again, it's the seif that shvar according to abaya. If you add the words from, I gave a basket, and the ones that are roy to me, then we can understand why the sisters are not mekudeshes. Why? Because they're not roy lebia. Got it? Good. Now, Rav is shver the ratio, guys. Rav is shver the ratio. Good. Rav mitaris tamei. Amagdash, here's he adding the word. Hamakadesh achas meishu bita. He added the word achas. Remember, that wasn't in the Mishnah. Hamakadesh achas meishu bita, one or the other. Achas meishu v'achayso, or one or the other. Our Mishnah says what? He's Mekadesh, both of them. He's saying no, only one of them. Naseh will view it. Kamisha Kiddush Ishu Abita, both of them. Ayisha Achaysa Ka'achas. That's what we'll view it as the same way. You know why? Because it's not a good Kedushin, since it's not Roy Labia. The Einu Mekadeshes, and this not Mekadeshes. Okay? So guys, so that's the way Rabbi learns Pshat. Rabbi cuts and carves up the Mishnah. A man who's Mekadesh one of the woman. It's like he miskaddish both. And just like Mekadesh both, it's not a good Kedushin, so to Mekadesh one is not a Kedushin. Why if Mekadesh one is not a Kedushin? Because it's not Nimsru Labia. Now, the Sefer reads perfectly, because that was never Shver on Rav in the first place. Right? Umay sanami b'chameis nashim, u'behem shtei achayos, v'liked echad kol shal teinim, v'amar, ha'kulchem, v'yachas m'shtei achayos, m'kudeshes li, v'kol azuv, v'amar chachamim, ein achayos m'kudeshes. So, we asked him Rava from the Reisha. Rava cut and pasted. He says he Mekadesh one of them. It's like Mekadesh both of them at the same time. And Abaya went ahead and cut and pasted the Seifa. He added the words Roya. You need a Ruya. If it was ain't a Ruya, they were Mekudeshes. But since you said a Ruya, therefore ain't a Mekudeshes, because you added the adjoinder that has to be Roya Labia. But each one is held serve. Tashma. Again, a question on Rava who says you need Kedushin Msar and Labia. HaMekadesh is Bitoy. Stam. Now we know a person can be Mekadesh's daughter when she's a Katana or a Naira, cannot be Mekadesh when what she is a Begeris. Eina Boigris Bechlal. Begeris, in other words, he didn't say which daughter, but certainly his daughter that is a Begeris, meaning she's older than 12 and 6 months, is not included. HaKatanois Bechlal, right? But Katanos would be included. For my Kedushin Shein Masrun would be in Ninu, right? So when he said Mekadesh is B'tay Stam. You don't know which one. So since you don't know which one, it's not a Kedushin that Nimsul Labia. So why is it good Kedushin? He's Mekadesh one of his daughters. You don't know which one. It's Mikudeshes. Why? Why is Mikudeshes? It's not Nimsur Labiyah. It shouldn't be a good Kedushin. V'tiyuf to the Rava. Amlach Rava. Hachamayaskinan kishein sham el gedoylo katana. There's only one in one. So Mamela, by the process of elimination, it's got to be the katana. So it's Kedushin and Nimsur Labiyah. Fred the Gemara had Baigris Katani. You learn the Lashon plural. Says Rashi, if you're saying Baigris, it must be speaking also in the Hechatimsa of Kitanois. So if there are more than, just like Baigris is plural, Kitanois must be also, you have more than one daughter. So why is that your daughter's Mukudeshes? It's not Nimsur Labiyah, Vakashan Rava. And for the Gemara, my Baigris the Alma. It doesn't mean your specific situation. It means the din. Baigris the Alma, regular Baigeris cannot be what? Cannot be in the father's rishus. We know that. Speaking of Sakilish Azeh is only by Katana or Naira. It says, she made him a shliach. The Bageris made him a shliach. So now, she made him a shliach for herself, and he has the capacity to go ahead and be Makadish's daughter. So in other words, you have a daughter who's a Gedailah, who made him into a shliach, and then you have his din that he can Makadish the Katana. We're going to say that what? That he's not Mekadesh the Gedoyla, even though he was made a Shliach. Mal de Tema, Ki Mekabel Kedushay Adaita Didok Mekabel. I would say he's Mekabel Kedushin on the Das of the Gedoyla, who made him a Shliach. Kamash Malon, Leishavik Inish Midi, this Lehanamine. He won't leave a chance where he has enough from it, meaning he's going to get to keep the Kesef Kedushin of the Katana or the Naira, right? As opposed to the Bageres, who L'chayra, he's not going to be go ahead one. And the Bageres, he's not going to stand to make any money on. But the Bageres, he's not going to stand to make any money on, and therefore, even though she made him a shliach, we're not going to go ahead and hold him. Okay. Cannot be speaking which not only she made him a shliach, but she gave him the hana of keeping the kesef kedushin. Says, like shavik inish mitzvah the ramyallah, the other mitzvah the ramyallah. Person, he has a mitzvah to marry off his katana. It says Espenosenu Titain la Noshim, Pasuk in Yirmiyah Chavtes. So there's a mitzvah over there to marry off the katana. He's not going to skip the mitzvah to marry off the gedola, even though in both cases he stands to financially be given over money. On the other hand, by the katana, it's a mitzvah. Mashen came by the Bageres. So therefore, it's not a kasha on Rava because it's speaking where he only had two daughters, and since he only had two daughters, it was a kedushin that was Masur Labiyah. Tashma, Mishesh leShtei Kitei Banos. He's got two sets of daughters, Mishtei Noshim, from two wives. So he has four daughters, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, outside guys. So from wife A, he has two daughters, and wife B has two daughters. Wife A will call 1, 2, daughters 1, 2. Wife B will call 3, 4. He's Mekadesh the Gedoyla. 3 possibilities of Gedoyla. Number 1 is the Gedoyla of all of them. Number 2 is the Gedoyla over number 3. And number 3 is the Gedoyla of number 4. So the only one that you know that there's no problem with is number 4. She's the Katana of the Katana. Says the Gemara. I was Mekadesh my daughter, the Gedoyla. And I don't know. Im Gedoyla shebe Gedoylos. No, it doesn't say Yadea. Yadua. It's not known, right? Yeah, it's Veni Yadea, excuse me. And he doesn't know. Im Gedoyla shebe Gedoylos number 1. Im Gedoyla shebe Ketanis number 3. Im Ketana shebe Gedoylos or number 2, who's the Ketana of the Gedoylos. Shahaya Gedoyla mina Gedoyla, but she's older than 3. Guys, it's a little convoluted. Guys, you got it? One more time. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's possible that 1, 2, 3 are all Gedoylim. 1 will be the Gedoyla of the both sets. Number 3 will be the Gedoyla of the second set, and number 2 will be Gedoyla of number 3. So therefore, Kulan Asurais, they're all also to marry without a get. Number 4 is a free agent. We know it was Mekadesha. Divrei Meya. Now, l'chayra, why over here is it good Kidushin? According to you, since it's Einan Nimsum Labiyah, it shouldn't be good Kidushin, Rava. No one can live with number one, no one can live with number two, no one can live with number three. So why are you telling me that they're usher, there should be usher, since it's not Nimsum Labiyah, because you don't know who your wife is, so l'chayra, it should be usher. Says it's speaking where you did know, and then you got mixed up. He did know and he got mixed up. Then Mela, if he knew, it's not at that point. It was Misurim Labiyah. At that time, he knew. At that time, when he accepted Kedushin for that Gedolah, and he knew which one it was, and before he had dementia or something, right? At that point in time, it was Misurim Labiyah, and therefore they're all asa. Number 1, 2, and 3 are asa. They can Tani. Eina yodeya, I don't know. V'lekatani eina yedua, it's not known. Eina yedua is mashma, it was never known. Eina yodeya is mashma, I don't know, but once upon a time I did. Shma mino, it's a good raya. If it's speaking that they got mixed up and it was Kedushin, so what's the Chiddush? What's the Chiddush? So says Malafukim Rabbi Yossi. No, it's because we would all hold like Rabbi Yossi guy. If you say Gedolah, we all hold number 1, correct? Think about it. We'd all hold number 1. We would go ahead have alumnus over here. The Omer Leimocha, since she now should the Sveika, a person is not going to go ahead and by a suffix. And clearly, the one that, according to everyone, is the Gedolah is number 1. She's the Gedolah of the earliest group. Kamash Malon, the Macha since she now should the Sveika, and you have to worry about 2 and 3 as well. That's the Chiddush. Tashma. Misha Kiddush Achas Mishtei Achayos. A guy is, you know what? I'm going to hold off over here because I want to get the book on Yevamis. It's Yevamis cases. I want to get the book. I have to find the book and bring it out. Anyway, thank you for listening. A good night to everybody. I appreciate it.